Before we get started, I want to say thank you to Next Level Ninjas for partnering with me for today's episode. If you're an entrepreneur who's selling online, you may have encountered this problem. Amazon's ranking and review system is broken. Many people have tried to game the system and most have failed. Old techniques just don't work anymore. There is, however, a better, more effective solution with none of the risks inherent in other systems. That's where Next Level Ninjas comes in. Next Level Ninjas are a great tool for anyone who sells on Amazon and every other e-commerce marketplace. You want pure reviews from verified buyers on multiple platforms? Well, Next Level Ninjas has exclusively selected thousands of diverse buyers who would love to test, review, and help your brand to launch in style. This is achieved by utilizing influencer marketing to gain traffic the most organic way possible. Most importantly, their methods are all within the boundaries of Amazon's terms of service. This large focus group ensures movement to your listing in a timely manner to help you rank higher. Additionally, they have reputable social media accounts to boost visibility to other like-minded customers to help with brand awareness and boost your traffic. So if you're selling on Amazon or any other marketplaces and you want to increase sales in a safe way that will be ongoing, Next Level Ninjas is exactly what you need. So start your campaign now with 25% off by using the following code, Gerard25, and enjoy today's episode. Let's get to it. I love you so much. I love this man so much. You guys are in for an absolute treat in this episode. I just know how deep we're going to go. But before we get into it, I just want to start off by offering my absolute gratitude and appreciation for who you are, who you've been for me in my life. Like, guys, I'm bringing a leader to you that is so inspiring, and his living, we're living in it. Like, literally, I'm in his home. I'm seeing all his manifestations come to life. But I want to just personally say, before we get into everything that he has created, this man has personally changed my life. He has impacted my life in ways that I can never put a price tag on. He's become a brother to me and a real friend that was there for me when I didn't know who to go to. I didn't really know how to receive that type of support and brotherhood in my own life. And he was just like this unbelievable angel that came into my life. And he gifted me this necklace that I believe is now an heirloom in the Addams family. Something that I cherished so much after we went through him pouring into me, putting me through a ceremony he calls Welcome Home that literally impacted me in ways that we'll go into. But I just wanted to say in front of everyone at Leaders Create Leaders that I love you and I appreciate you. And I'm so excited that they get to now hear from you and, most importantly, just learn from you. Like, really learn. It's one thing because your story is remarkable, but you are so gifted as a teacher. You are a guide, and I see you as that. And so I'm telling you right now that if you are here and you stay present to this episode, there is something extremely powerful for you that in this one moment, I'm telling you, can change your entire life. I've seen him do it time and time again. So, brother, thank you for being on the show.
Let me just take the opportunity to receive all of that. Just I'll be scooping in all the love. I received that, and thank you so much. I thank you for seeing me, because it takes somebody to be able to see themselves in order to truly see somebody in their fullness. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Receive.
Yeah, bro.
Back.
Yeah, bro.
I see you as an artist. I mean, I see the artist in you. I see the artist in all of us. And it's in the way that you express yourself. And I have a saying that's like, in order to fully express yourself, you must first fully accept yourself.
Yes.
And I want to talk about that because in the book, why don't we kick off there? And by the way, when I see this, guys, comment what you see in this. For me, what I see is like death. And it's interesting, there's this machine inside of the skull. So the machine is like society, religion, social media, all the things that the world tries to do to make you robotic, to do what they feel is right or wrong or in their eyes, versus like coming into your full, whole, sovereign itself to fully express yourself. And in the book, you talk about a moment in your life where you were allowing the opinions of others to dictate who you were. In fact, you talk about it and you say in the book, I have learned the hard way that if you don't tell yourself who you are, you will eventually live a life based on who you think people think you are. It is like living in a jail cell inside of a jail cell, which leads to loss of self. That was me. Take me back to that moment in time for you, brother.
So, but first I wanted to go back really quick. When you were saying also, and the machine is also religion, I just want to extract. It's not the religion, it's the unhealthy people inside of certain religions that cause the out of alignmentness. But the religion in itself is, I don't feel is a bad thing. It's just it's a direction, but it's certain unhealthy people that are trying to create control that are behind certain religions that give it a bad name.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. That's
You're so
actually,
welcome. Yeah.
that moment right there is so important.
Yeah.
Like that was so important because I feel our generation has lost touch with religion because of that like stigma and warp of it becoming wrong.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying, where it feels like confined in a church, but that's not religion. It's almost like we've been convinced that religion is something that is confined, but that's not religion.
You know, we'll go into this later, and I'm going to go into your question, but when I was in prison for 2.5 years, all I had was time. So I read all of these religious books. I read the Quran cover to cover 8 times. I read the Bible cover to cover 8 times. And I was just reading all of these, but underneath all of the different rules and regulations, underneath was all the same message of love and respect and things like, I was like, oh, they're literally saying the same thing, but who actually reads the other thing outside of the box and the narrative in which they were raised around? So just me having an open mind allows me to truly see people at the heart level and not as the stereotype level. So I just wanted to just paint that picture and then go into what you were sharing about the book. You know, you hear people, they'll say, oh, you're stupid, or you're dumb, and you're this, and you're that. And then all of a sudden you hear a song long enough, you start singing the song. So if you hear names from other people and society for long enough, it seeps into your subconscious mind, and then all of a sudden, I'm stupid, there's something wrong with my skin color, I'm this, I'm that. And that leads to the loss of self, because at the conception stage, that's where the gold is. It's like a baby being born into love, and everything else after that is learned. But then, you know, you hear these little kids that are like, oh, I'm gonna be a superhero, I'm strong and I'm powerful, and then it just fades away. So when you intentionally tell yourself who you are, it's almost, but from a positive narrative, it's reminding yourself of who you've always been. But like when you remove that negative stuff and you're like, I'm strong, I am powerful, I am beautiful inside and out, I am successful in every area of my life, and keep telling it, then your body starts to adjust to that vibration and frequency.
I like that. And basically, you start to become the author of your own story.
Absolutely.
Right? And so, and even me, like, I know, and you know, this is my thing, like, I feel like I'm still evolving. There's moments where I'm like, who am I? I don't know. You know, am I the entrepreneur? Is there a death and rebirth process of me at each stage of my life? And like really learning to have this surrender and not be, I'm a hard critic, bro. Like,
Yeah.
I can judge myself super hard. And that's what led me to judging others.
Yep.
But like, I judge myself. Like, yes, other people could totally impact how I see myself, but I feel like what's even worse for me is how hard I've always judged myself in my life.
That right there is it. People are actually responding to how you're seeing yourself. Excuse me. So, one, the essence of life is growth. So you actually always like seeking that evolution is just part of your nature, period. Because everything is, what I've learned is everything is energy. So if the essence of life is growth, then motion is actually part of our divine nature. So we're energy in motion, which is why growth must always take place. And the moment you stop growing, that's where all the weird stuff happens. So I like to say it's like the metamorphosis of the butterfly. A caterpillar, and then all of a sudden it spins the cocoon.
Yeah.
But it's that dark place.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't even know that it's about to turn into the butterfly. So while it's in the dark place, that's where most of the growth is happening. Here's where most people that I've come across miss the mark. When you emerge into that thing that you didn't even know you were going to emerge into, if you want to keep growing, there must be a death phase, like an ego death or some part of you that's dying off and upgrading into the new version. So it's like iPhone 1, iPhone 2. They let go of the old camera and upgrade to the new camera. So let go of the old process and the way that you're thinking or the attitude or the, your energy. So if you want to keep growing, it's almost like going back into the cocoon. But here's the distinction. You can either let it catch you by surprise, or you can put yourself through voluntary discomfort. And that could be reading when you don't want to read. That can be working out when you don't want to work out, or waking up early when you wake up late.
This morning,
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Putting yourself through voluntary discomfort actually channels the same part of your brain as when something random happens. You're like, oh, where'd this come from? And you have to adjust. But if you're intentionally putting yourself through voluntary discomfort, you'll see that those other things, those random out of the box weird things, happen a lot less. So it's almost like there's a universal order that's wanting you to be tested. So either you take yourself to school, or school is going to happen whether you like it or not. Yeah, bro.
Yo, that's so powerful, because that's something I learned late in my life. Similar to you, I feel like in your 30s, that kind of my big, like, major transformational year. It started at 30, but 33 was like my breakthrough moment. And I want to talk to you about August 2011, 3:43 in the morning.
Oh, you did your research.
La Brea in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And that seemed to be one of the most, if not the most, that moment of when you were almost involuntary in the darkness, why? And that was the moment that finally shifted for me. So can you take me back to that moment for you?
Yeah. So that time, it was 3:43, August 2011. At the time, I was living in my car, but I was living in my car for the last 2.5 years. And, I was ex-convict. I could barely pay child support, didn't have a relationship with my daughter because of my own not handling my responsibilities. Girlfriend had just broken up with me. I was $200,000 in debt. And I was just like, man, can it get any worse? And life kept getting worse. It was like I was trying to swim against the current that was smashing up against mountains. And there was no possible way that I was like, how are all these people becoming successful? I know I'm talented. How is this happening? And then one day, I just decided to throw my hands up, and I was like, okay!
Was it just like it rains or something?
Bro,
like it gets worse to the point where
actually
literally...
raining. It was, but the day before I had this moment, somebody had broken in my car, because I used to shower at LA Fitness. And somebody had broken into my car while I was parked at LA Fitness, took my computer, took a bunch, and I was like, but that was the moment where I wanted to take my life. And I was like, there's no way. Like, I have a world inside of me and I don't know how to access that door. So what's the point in even living? So I laid down in the middle of the road and I was just like, run me over, run me over, run. And it just, people kept scurrying. And it was that next day where I was just like, man. And I yelled, and it was raining. The right side of my window was busted out. There was like a t-shirt, scotch tape. And I just was like, okay, I'm tired of fighting. And I was screaming at the top of my lungs, I don't want to fight anymore. I want to be healthy. I want to be happy. I want to be surrounded by nothing but positive people. I just want to inspire people. And I want to make a bunch of money, but I want the money to represent something that I passionately believe in. Just show me a sign. Show me a sign. Show me a sign. And it was the rawest and realist I had ever been with myself, because my whole life I've always talked about, I don't want this kind of girl, I don't want to be broke, but I've never ever said what I actually wanted. And in that moment there was a call that was beyond my human voice that was flowing through me, and it was just whoosh. And then there was silence, and then a week later I'm at a gas station in Inglewood, California, and a homeless guy asked me for money, and I said, you have more money than me, because he had a wad of money. And he said, change your mindset, change your life. It was that moment right there. Boom! It was like a conscious interrupt. And I've had a lot of people tell me and give me advice, but I believe life had to strip me down, take away my daughter, my girlfriend. My mom was dying in the hospital, just like wasn't booking any modeling gigs, take away all this stuff to strip me down to the point where a homeless man says, change your mindset, change your life, and I actually listened. Because I always hear people say, I wouldn't take advice from people I wouldn't trade lives with. Anyone can be used at any time. And a homeless guy said, change your mindset, change your life. Interrupted my entire thought process. And I said, my life is the way that it is because of the way I'm thinking. So if I do different with the same circumstance, my life will change. Change your mindset, change your life. So I just kept playing that over and over. Change your mindset, change your life. I see the escalators, change your mindset, change your life. So I'm gonna take the stairs. I use gel soap, change your mindset, change your life. So I'm gonna use bar soap. I wake up late, change your mindset, change your life. I started practicing waking up early. At least the intention was there. I ate fatty foods, change your mindset, change your life. I started practicing any way that I can, eating healthy. And then I surrounded myself around a healthy, active lifestyle community. Well, guess what? It's been 9 years since that day. And I've done the opposite of everything that I would normally do in areas of my life where I wasn't happy. And because of that philosophy, change your mindset, change your life, my life has completely altered the course of what I thought was reality. That was just a different alternate reality, because now I'm living in a different wavelength, a different frequency. I opened up new neural pathways by default. Like, I didn't know what I was doing, but I was doing the opposite of everything I would normally do. You do that for 9 straight years, there's no possible way you'll be living the same exact life. So my life is a culmination of all the things I never would do. And because I did all of these things, I've actually earned the life that I've always wanted, that has surpassed my wildest dreams, and we're just getting started.
Yeah, brother, that's so powerful. It's interesting how like doing the exact opposite and the things that were uncomfortable compounded even with intention every day over the long term has now allowed you to have the healthiest relationship with your daughter, that hearing about that relationship, that being your friend. You just bought this multi-million-dollar unbelievable mansion here.
Me and my
it's
wife.
like a resort, married to your soulmate. Baby, you just announced yesterday on the
Baby
way.
Jones on the way.
Baby Jones. It's remarkable, and yes, you are just getting started. So that's what I'm talking about. It's like you have broken a code of like manifesting your vision, your desires, your wants. But I feel like there's someone watching right now. It's like, okay, cool, Garrain, change your mindset, change your life. Like, sounds basic, right?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean, right? Like, am I just thinking positive, which I know is a really powerful book for you, right? But, well, like, okay, is that really the code, right? Just thinking about something. So, like, break it down. Yes, that I know that that's a big pillar of it, but at least I know for me, also, as someone who believes in manifestation, has manifested the life I've always desired. And I used to get told that I'm not good enough, not smart enough, being called I would never make it because I had a scar on my face, was getting jumped all the time, bullied all the time. And to this day, I'm still healing a lot of that. By no means have I fully transformed all of that.
Yeah.
But I did start to change that narrative and believe in myself and bet on myself and do the uncomfortable thing and do the uncertain thing and do the hard thing.
Yeah.
And realize that code, right? By just doing that alone, that's going to give you a different life. And it's allowed me to have that life that was unconventional to my friends who were getting that college degree, that were doing all the right things, and has allowed me to become an entrepreneur, being a rebel, being a risk taker, being a person who's willing to go against the grain. That's played out for me. But I still feel like there's levels to this shit. There's levels to this shit, right?
Yeah.
So like doing the uncomfortable and certain things, yes, that will get you to a certain level of success. But then there's like the magician level type shit. Like I was like level 1, then there's like level 5, magician type shit. So like if you could break down what are those levels to you? Where are you at to this point? Now that you've cracked the code, where do you level up, like doing the uncomfortable and certain thing, starting to change your life to then becoming the actual creator of your life?
Yeah. Well, one, I unconsciously we all are all creators of our own lives. I'd say my biggest code, this is huge, and people are gonna be like, what, that's it? But here's the thing, if you have to say, that's it, I've already tried that, you're not in the right frequency. You're literally not in the right frequency. I've already tried positivity, but is that a positive thing? So maybe it's not a positive thing. Maybe your issue is actually patience. So I tell you, I was 5 years old. Michael Jackson's Moonwalker came on, and it was on MTV, and we were in the, the kids, they would sing in front of the family, like cousins, uncles, dad, mom, whatever, on the Christmas holiday. And I was deathly afraid of singing. And something was like, Garrain, just go in there, sing. You love this song. So I went to go sing. My dad was sloppy drunk, and he was like doing drugs at that time. He was sloppy drunk. And I just remember singing Michael Jackson Moonwalker, and I just went out there and I was trying to do all the moves. I'm 5 years old. And everybody, family members, cousins, like aunt, Garrain, stop singing. You can't sing. Oh, Garrain, stop singing. And I heard my dad say, hey! Don't you ever tell my son what he can and cannot do. Garrain, if it makes you happy and it brings you joy, You do what makes you happy. Never forget that. Y'all, don't ever tell my son what he can and cannot do. And that was the first time in my life someone ever took up for me.
Wow.
Now, there's a bunch of negative things that people say about my dad. My father was murdered when I was 12, and I've heard all the negative things, but the one thing that I remember is the first person who took up with me, and what the seed he planted was always follow your heart, do what makes you happy, do what brings joy to your life. And I never forgot that. When you watch kids and they're on the recess and they're doing really what makes them happy in its full expression, they're growing the most. There's like, oh, I just thought about that and it happened. Like, but they're so unconscious to what's happening. One of the most powerful frequencies in the world is the EKGs of a heart. Most people don't use it. They use work hard, team no sleep. Yeah, but you get an ulcer by the time you're 50 and wonder where all these health complications come from, because you might be overcompensating in an area to distract or to unconsciously miss from the area that needs you most, which is your soul. Yeah. And when you can truly honor your soul, love it, cherish it, appreciate it, respect it, and treat your soul as if it were a little kid who just wants to play on the playground. I'm going to say this again. Treat your heart, your soul, the spirit that's inside of you, as if it were a little kid who needs attention, just wants to play on the playground, meaning having fun, bringing joy and everything. The feeling is the secret, and people miss the feeling. They miss the feeling that's woven in and out of everything. The field of joy then wells up inside of you and spills over into the next container called the physical evidence in your life. When your field of joy that you create first fills up your heart, spills over into the next container called your body, spills over to the next container called your soul. You see it when you pour in a cup. There's a tipping point. Boom. Most people miss that part because of their negative self-talk. So they pour in and then they pour out with the negative self-talk. Pour in, pour out, pour in, pour out. I've always wanted to be a superhero. And I never seen a superhero say, oh, I'm not going to have my powers today. I thought I could fly. No one would ever follow that person. And I always wanted to be a superhero. And they all had an extreme amount of faith and belief. And it was, I think, because my favorites were like Superman and Batman, and they had this unshakable belief. Those are my first mentors. And I just kept following that, and I didn't have a strong relationship with my mom, so I never really got impacted by my mom's ways of being or my brother's ways of being, because my brother was always hanging out with his friends, and all I had, because I was grounded, was cartoons. Well, in cartoons, I would watch superheroes, stronger than the average man, abs like an action figure, save and change lives all over the world. That takes belief. I didn't know that I was creating that as a little kid. So I kept believing. Anytime all this weird shit would happen in my life, it's when I fell out of alignment with the things that was connected to my heart from when I was a little kid. And every single time I start running, I start spontaneously dancing, I play in the grass, I play in the rain, I go swimming, I ride my bike, I do the things that really sparked joy in my life. Every single time, that's when I have the most ideas, that's when I have the most creativity. And the way I see it is, if you can imagine a woman that is pregnant, there's a baby inside of the womb. The baby grows into a certain point, too big for the space. So what once grew inside of the space then is birth. It goes into the next realm. So When joy starts to fill up, when it's too big for your body, it spills over into people around you. When you create a space for people to have permission to say, I want to be free, I get to be happy, I get to follow my dreams, and you wake those souls up right there, I feel that there's a calling card on every single person who truly, without ego, honors the calling of bringing light to the world through the joy that first happens inside of them. And I think there's unlimited amount of resources, whether it be money, whether it be houses, whether it be leadership, influence, or people, that's assigned to people who are influencing people to level up in their lives. Yeah. That is the thing. Then there's the systems and structures and work, but that's the house.
Yeah. That's the purpose.
Yeah. This is what creates the feeling that's inside of the house that makes it a home.
Yeah. Yeah, beautifully said. And thank you for that, because that is something that I know I struggled with in my life, where I had the belief, but I didn't understand the power, especially as a young man, of feeling. Do you have any exercises that you would recommend for someone watching right now that's like, I'm ready for that shit. I'm ready and I'm done trying to be what I think I need to be in order to be validated by everyone in the world. I'm done trying to do this to amount to what I feel my father wants or my mother wants or society wants, or, you know, all of the things that, you know, even I'm putting on myself. And what has been birthed through this for me is what I call breaking the mask. Breaking the mask of what is the fear, the judgment, the imposter syndrome, the comparison, all of those things. And so if you were to give someone a seed that can be watered after this interview even further with an invitation, but what would be a seed for them to think about and to implement to then open up that gate to fully accepting themselves, owning who they are, believing in themselves, being themselves, and then creating and manifesting an expression of who they are?
Yeah, well, first of all, I love that you brought this up. First you must really define what your version of success is, because you can be chasing after a rainbow over here, but it's actually over here. You know, I had a version of success that I saw. I was like, man, the cars, the girls, the Bentleys, the this, the million. I got the millions, the car, the Bentley, the girls, and I was like, man, that ain't it. Then I was surrounded by a bunch of multimillionaires who had 10 times more than that. But then one of my friends one day, he had everything. Then he put a bullet into his brain. And I was like, I thought he was happy. What I realized is he had everything but himself. So there was an overcompensation to distract from the very thing that was needed the most, which was himself. And I started to rethink, what do I want success to be? Like, freedom of all forms? What does that look and feel like? And then what it really, really, really dialed down to me is, because anybody can make money, but how long can you keep it? And, because there's always an and, what's your state of mind and the feeling inside of your body while you harness this lifestyle? I've seen a bunch of
right there
multi-millionaires. It's like, bro, you've been here for 2 minutes and you're sweating. That's called anxiety. Like, there's something inside that's not being met. Yes.
Yeah.
I focus on whole life success in every single area: family, finance, spirit life, like contribution, happiness, the happiness, like fun,
family.
There's so many different, but because the focus is there, but here's what determines that level. If I'm in a state of peace. If I'm not in a state of peace, there's now knowing what I know, because I got the money and I saw it work, and it could have been 10 times more, But then there was nobody who made money look good enough for me to lose my life for.
Which we got to get into a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, and I'm going to speak to this because you can get it all, but at what cost?
Woo!
I've seen a bunch of people with a lot of money.
At what
you don't
cost?
have a relationship with your family.
Yes.
I want that. I actually want it all. And they say you can't have your cake and eat it too, but I'm going to listen.
Bullshit.
If you're willing to do the extra cardio, you can. Nugget. You can have your cake and eat it too, but are you willing to do the extra cardio? So I decided that my ultimate level of success is that before I lay down at night, there's no voices in my head, and it's peaceful, and it's calm. And when I go throughout the day, even when all this stuff is going on, I can maintain my peace throughout the day. That level, and I don't get, some days I get it, some days I don't.
Yes, definitely.
Because it's a forever practice, because our minds and our emotions is like the waves of the ocean. So there's no one set, like, I'm like this all the time. Don't lie. You can lie to me, don't lie to yourself. However, it's my intention and it's my practice, and whatever comes up, I'm like, what's the lesson? What's there for me to learn? And how can I get back to the center? Which I also have the center with my wife. It's a state of peace, it's a state of calm, and it's where we are the most connected into our hearts. But that's how I am. It's like where I'm the most connected into my heart, and I'm just feeling and I'm just appreciating and I'm in my state of joy, and it's peaceful. Right. Having money and all these different things as a result of maintaining this, that is the luxury for me. That is my absolute luxury. And so I wanted to get into that because if you don't have your own personal definition of what you think success is, you might be headed down a wrong trail, and you might get real pissed off that when you get there, it wasn't what you thought it was. So you got to create what you want it to be and then follow what you want it to be, that version of success.
Go back to the moment in your life where, if you'd be okay with sharing, there was a moment that you literally were in prison. You were in one of the hardest moments of your life and had to figure out how to manifest your way out of that imprisonment. And man, what was that really like for you to be in another country, to be in a situation that you know that your decisions led you to being now literally confined in like jail cells, but then not allowing that to stop you from being a gift and a blessing and getting out of that?
So I got sentenced 12 years. I got out in 2.5. I got busted I was like smuggling drugs. I was driving a car from one country to the next over a ferry from the UK to Rotterdam and Amsterdam. I'd done that job 7 times. On the 8th time I got caught. I never thought about the repercussions. If you know just how I've always operated in my life, I kind of just do things and not think about the repercussions. I do it. I used to jump in lakes with alligators in it so I can get the golf balls that nobody would get, because nobody would jump in the alligator infested lake. But I was the one with all the money because I was willing to go where no one else would go. Now I wouldn't do that. Like now I think about it, it's like, well, what was I thinking? However, that was my mindset back then. So never thinking that I would get caught, I took that on, ended up getting caught, was in prison for a whole year before they sentenced me. This is very different than America. I didn't get my first phone call till after 1 year. You know, in America, you get your, I was in France, you get your phone call within the first 3 days. 1 year, I got sentenced. Then that was the first time I had heard from my mom. And so I'm in there just watching the clock and being like, what was I thinking? Wow, like I'm doing all of this modeling stuff. I got music videos out. I got national commercials out, billboards in Times Square for modeling. And at the same time, I was so hungry and greedy for money that I was still doing these kind of things while I was modeling. Because it wasn't about what was happening. It was like, oh, money, 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 money. I was so money hungry that I didn't even think about the discipline that it took to just stay in that lane. I was just taking any way to make money.
Or like the integrity. I feel like this goes into that, what I was saying earlier, when you make these decisions that you don't even recognize the impact that it can have on your life. And in your case.
So I'm in there, and every day I'm like, what was I thinking? My life is over. And I remember we got to watch movies once a month. And Shawshank Redemption came on, which is a movie that's set in the prison setting. And Tim Robbins, I remember a scene, he goes, by this time I was already in prison for 2 years and something.
Man.
Like not getting out anytime soon.
Man.
Yeah, bro. It was 2004. I wasn't supposed to get out till 2012.
Oh, man.
Yeah, bro.
And how old were you?
I was 20. I went in at like 23, 24.
That could have been me.
Yeah.
You know, I have a story that many of my audience has heard, getting pulled over and like by the grace of my guardian angel. But that could have been me. It could, and it, you know, it just, man, it's crazy. So many people out there, they don't realize the decisions. And so go on. So you watch that movie.
So I watched that movie, and I remember him saying, they can take anything they want away from me, but they can't take away my mind. And in that moment, that's when I became a free man. Because I realized why. Because I've been manifesting my whole life, but I wasn't aware of it. You can't change what you're not aware of. Yeah. And I couldn't articulate it either, how it happened. So I instantly became a free man. Because then I was aware of why I was in there. Because while I was free, I used to say, oh, I'm so far away from where I'm supposed to be. I feel like I'm in prison. I feel like I'm in prison so far away from where I'm supposed to be. And if you got that running, that program, that tape running in your mind all the time, well, guess what? I was far away from where I was supposed to be in France, in prison. So I literally manifested being in the very nature of the confinement that I was in. So that's in that moment, I said, well, if I do everything that I love, then that means I'm free, which goes right back to what my dad told me, always do what you love. So in that moment, I said, so what do I love? I love drawing. I love visual arts. I love motivating people. I love singing. I love dancing. I love running. So what did I do? Inmates. I would draw photos of inmates, portraits of their family. They're like, can we get you anything? And I was like, nah. And in my heart, I said, I just want you to be happy, because it brought me so much joy. Then I started like motivating people. I was reading all these positive books. And by that time, I had learned fluent French. So I just started motivating people and everything. And then one of the inmates said, every time you sing, it makes me feel free. So I started singing every night. It brought me joy, but it also made him feel free. Then outside in America, they call it the yard, but in France, they call it promenade. And so everybody was walking and they're lifting weights. Sometimes there's drug deals, sometimes there's fights, stabbings, and everything. And I've seen it all. A voice inside said, run. You love to run. And I'm like, I'm not running. There's nobody running. So finally, I answered that calling because I love to run. I start running. Then all of a sudden, there's 3 people running with me. And people's like, oh, that American is crazy. 30 days, there's like 60 inmates running with me. Less fights, less drug deals, less stabbings. The security guard that brought me into the office, he said, no, ever since you've been running, so many things have changed. So he's like, keep going. I didn't know what adding value was at that time. But it's so interesting how, when I felt myself to be free, when I thought myself to be free, when I started doing things that I wouldn't normally do when I was out there, but things that actually brought me joy, peace, happiness, I was a free man. So in losing my freedom, I discovered my freedom. But the universe needed to take away all of these distractions so that I could remember who had the power to begin with, and it was me. All of these distractions were taken away so I could be reminded that everything that I'm looking for is myself. So here's where everything happened. I poured into myself first, and then all of a sudden, it poured on to the other inmates. That was too big for the space. And out of nowhere, this is some wild shit, bro. They tested those drugs 3 times, 6.2 kilos of heroin. All of a sudden, when I feel free 2.5 years later, and I embody the characteristics of a free person, the frequency, the energy, and I think myself free, Jones, they called me into the office. And I don't know why I'm coming into the office. And here's what they said. We retested the drugs. 90% is fake. For the amount of drugs that's real, you've already done the time, you're free to go. So when I connect the dots looking back on my life, anytime there'd been so much manifestation, so much abundance, it was when I was honoring my authentic nature, being myself. What is myself? I just like everything, every thought, every word, the way that I dress without trying to seek other people's approval to fit inside of whatever group they created. It's like really honoring what is in my heart that's just screaming to get out. Even in prison, I was free. So if I could think myself free, and to this day, nobody knows how that happened. But when I connect the dots looking backwards, I know prison was the womb. The value that I was first given to my heart spilled over into my body's container, spilled over into the inmate's container, spilled over into the prison container, and the next obvious was birth, aka release, aka freedom. 2.5 years, out.
That story is a movie. That story is a movie. Yeah. I keep telling Garrain that's a movie.
One thing I wanted to share though, there's some people out there, I know that you guys are out there, I mean, I'm not inspirational story, but I've never been to prison. Listen, you don't have to be in a physical prison to be in prison in your mind, because if you're in a job that you hate, and you hate your boss and you're like, they pay you less than your value, guess what? That's prison. If you're in a relationship, if you're in a marriage, if you're like in these environments that you stay in, you willingly stay in, but you don't really want to be in it, that's actually prison. So we actually pretty much go through the same thing. So if you can listen to it from a place of relatability and reflect on your own life, what are you doing in your life that you know you don't want to be doing, whether it's the job, whether it's the relationship, something, and then ask yourself, at what cost? Is it adding to your life or is it taking away? If it's taking away, you're in prison.
Right. Yeah, what is the cost? I love that.
Yeah.
Like listing all the things that you're doing and like really getting clear on where that's coming from. What is it truly costing you? And there seems to be like, a lot of times we create these like fake rewards of like why we're doing certain things. Like in that case.
And we'll justify it.
And we justify it, not realizing what the true cost is for you. So that's a dope exercise for you guys to go through. To wrap it up, brother, I want to talk about you and leadership.
Yeah.
Because you have led, not only have you built a multi-million-dollar financially, spiritually, you've created prosperity in your romance. You've also led 20,000 other leaders. You're literally a leader who creates leaders.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to pull from you, extract what have been some of the key pillars that you believe build a great leader, that you've learned from your own experience, kind of leading within your organization, working with leaders all over the world. What do you feel are the key pillars that a leader should inherit, should truly embody, that ultimately allow them to create other leaders in their organization, in their team, in their business?
So number one is having a vision for yourself and the team. But a compelling vision, one that really pulls you out of bed. When you think about it, your whole soul vibrates. If you're just like, oh, I want to make a bunch of money, but it's not going to last too long, And so having something that you can look towards, and you're thinking of possibility, and possibility will pull you forward. So having a vision, being able to enroll. If you don't know how to enroll, it's like you can kiss leadership goodbye, because everything is enrollment. Like being able to enroll your wife in a dance, or enroll somebody to be your wife or husband or something. Enrollment and enrolling leaders to follow a vision, or to follow you, or to follow other leaders, or follow a structure. If you don't have the enrollment, the enrollment piece, you can kiss leadership goodbye. Because there are some leaders that they're the person, but you can truly see the measure of a leader is when you're gone, if it's still running and if it still moves, because you've taken the time to teach other people how to do similarly to what you do. And if not, there's an unconscious neediness, like I need to be the person.
Right.
So that's number two. Number three, being a personal example. I can't request somebody to do something that I'm not willing to do. I just can't, because it doesn't authentically come from me. And there's a difference between a car salesman who knows nothing about the car, and then another car salesman who's driven the car, who has the same car, who knows the inner working. The way in which they speak about it is different. So when somebody who doesn't have personal experience about what they're trying to lead people to do speaks very differently about whatever they're doing than somebody who's in the field, who's done it, who's produced results, and who can articulate it. The swag is different. The passion is different. It's like, man, wherever that person is going, I want to go. It's like walking up to somebody in the street. Hey, where's the 405? Never mind. Where's the 405? Down here to the left. Oh, matter of fact, come on, follow me. Boom. I'm going to follow that person. That right there, having being a personal example, and being able to articulate direction in a way where people feel heard, not spoken at or spoken to. You need to do this. It's like speaking with people and allowing people to truly feel seen, heard, and acknowledged. That is so huge. Being able to speak with people when they feel like, man, I could quit this company, but I can never quit this person, because this person, the expression of the company is like, that's something that inspires me to want to create that. So being able to show up in a way where you can relate to them and communicate to their listening, night and day, major pillar. And another one is enthusiasm. Oh, when is it ever going to happen for me? What was it ever going to? It's so hard. It's like never going to. I want to know why my team isn't growing. No one is going to sign up to that. You're going to attract those exact kind of people in many different variations.
Right.
So having enthusiasm, when I started getting into entrepreneurship and I started getting into the wellness space, and it's like I had enthusiasm. I dropped 35 pounds. I put on 19 pounds of muscle, took my body fat from 16.4% down to 6% at age 32. Now I'm about to be 42, and I'm in one of the best shapes of any 42-year-old I've ever met in my life. That inspires me. And I'm just like, people like, where'd you get your energy from? I was like, yo, I'm so passionate about what I do and the message that's flowing through me, I can't help myself. People crave that energy, that light. It's infectious. Why? Because most people work a 9-to-5 job out of security and fear around people that they don't like, and they stay at that job. A lot of people don't like their lives and are putting on the mask or putting on the show. So when you become this enthusiastic person, be somewhere where nobody's doing anything and watch somebody get up and just start dancing, and after 10 minutes, watch what happens. You'll see another person, then you'll see another person, and another person, another person. People just need example. So being enthusiastic exudes energy. People are craving energy and connection, especially during these times. So having that about anything, paper, deodorant, energy bar, cars, shoes, whatever. You give me anything, I will sell it because I'll fall in love with it and I'll share my love, but with enthusiasm.
Seeing so many people lose their lives, people like Chadwick Boswick, and just like really powerful Kobe Bryant. We had some really unbelievable legends that we've recently have lost, and so many over centuries, right? And so it's allowed me to truly be present to the legends in front of me, the legend that I am, and no longer looking to the legacy from a point of view of like, one day, what will I be remembered by or leave behind? But like, how am I living and embodying my legend currently right now? So I kind of want to know, for you, what defines being legendary, and who have been the legends in your life that have inspired you, that helped you to kind of cultivate what legendary means for you?
God, I love the fact that you said, and I love the fact that you acknowledge yourself as being a legend, because when people, they say all these other people and they'll miss them. But if you spot it, you got it. But you got to be in ownership of yourself. And when you're in ownership of yourself, it actually allows you to see more, because it's self-acceptance and self-love and self-appreciation. So I acknowledge you for that. So for me, if you can, like, we were born and they gave us a date. Like on your tombstone, when your physical body leaves this earth, there's a date, and then there's a dash, and there's another date. Right now, we're living in the dash.
That's dope. Yeah.
That dash is
it's true.
What you created for your life, what you left for your life. I think, and this is my opinion, if you leave nothing for the next generation, you're selfish. We got Albert Einstein. We've got Nelson Mandela. He's got all these people that just left something for us that our kids can benefit from right now, because they created a favorable environment and service. And not everybody's gonna be like that, but just my opinion. If you have a life to live, you might as well make the most of it. And according to how you live your life, if you have kids, people don't do what you say, they do what they see. Your dash is like a tape. It's like a tape, a recorded tape that you hand off to the next generation. So if it was, they were negative and this and da-da-da, you hand that off to your son. You hand that off to your daughter. You hand that off to your next generation. So if you could look at your life right now I'm in my dash, right now I'm in my legend. You might as well put legend, dash. What would I want it to be made of? So much so that I could hand the best possible tape to the next generation. That in itself just has you think differently about your life. Because you're either living or you're existing. A lot of people are just existing in life. You know, I just take today as it comes. Don't throw spaghetti on the wall with your life. Really be intentional about your life. The intention at which you live your life will create the result. The intention is the seed. And throughout the day, and you know, your vision and your mission and your purpose, all of that is the fuel that leads you to the result. But if you don't have an intention, the awareness of what you're going towards, then there's just lack of direction, and you're going to pass that legend or you're going to pass that tape on to somebody else. So people who have really made a massive impact, there's no like one person where every single thing that they do, I'm just like, oh my God, it's like so crazy. It's like, you know, like I'm a huge fan and a follower of Jesus Christ. However, I listen to trap music. I don't think Jesus Christ listened to trap music. He probably turned up in his own way. So I take bits and pieces and create like this spiritual transformer of this universal body that I choose to follow. And I think that it's all coming from an energy, but people use energy in a different way. So I'm inspired by Conor McGregor, his belief in himself and what he was able to create for his life. I'll leave out the other parts that, you know, that I just might not align with, you know, because I don't agree with everybody, but I love a lot of things that people do. There's Conor McGregor, there's Jesus Christ, there's Stevie Wonder. You know, he's blind, but he has better vision than most people on the planet. All those beautiful songs had to come from a soul that was in the depths of joy and love. But the vision that it takes to be able to see a life that you can sing in perfect picture. Thank you, Stevie. Like, I follow that. My mom, let me tell you something. That woman, I gave her a hard time growing up, but I've never seen somebody take so many punches and always be calm. She used to be so annoying to me, but to lose your house in a fire, for your husband to be murdered, for you to have 2 bad kids, and you still feed them, and you still show up, and you still show up, you still support, and you still support, and maintain calmness all throughout, almost lose your life, still calm all throughout. She actually taught me how to practice peace. So my mom, and this next one is actually by far the most powerful person that I follow. And that's the higher version of myself. That's me from 10 years from now. I have no idea what he's like. But 10 years ago, I was living in my car and I tried to kill myself twice. That was only 10 years ago. Barely. So imagine 10 years from now, while continuously seeking growth. So the more and more I think of the higher version of myself, you know, partnership with God, co-creation, all that. And it's like sending these little spidey signals, do this, do that. Hey, you forgot about the thing that you're inventing, da-da-da-da. And leading me towards that 10-year out version of me. When I think about that version of Garrain, I'm like, yo, that's 10 years. Here's the next 10 years, and I'm committed to the commitment. I'm not going to stop growing. I know this.
Because you've seen the result of it.
Because I understand and I overstand the result of pursuing a fruitful life and truly working on the things that are not working in your life and continuously striving to evolve. Do I have it all? In my eyes, I have what I have for the moment, and the all is a forever, till my last breath. It's kind of like trees. They keep growing. They just keep growing, and they send their roots down as far as possible, and they produce as much fruit as possible. Why not me? I want that too. I want the same thing nature has.
Yeah, be your own GOAT, I call it. Be your own greatest of all time. Live your legend. This was so powerful, Garrain. Thank you so much for taking time to be. This was so juicy, and really think about what he just said there. Tapping into that higher version of yourself. I'm interested in that. I want you guys to comment what living your legend means to you. Maybe comment some legends that have inspired you, and then make sure, most importantly, that you tap in and you visualize and you truly meditate on who you're becoming. What would that higher version of you say to you right now? What would that person, if they were next to you today, tomorrow, what would they be saying to you? How can you start showing up and embodying that right now? And then watch what happens over this next decade. And let me tell you, this next decade is the most powerful decade, I believe, in human history. We have a $30 trillion shift in generational wealth that is happening right now for our generation and for the next generation. You were born in this era for a reason, to make such an impact in the world. Your story matters. You matter. You are worthy. You are powerful. You are a leader. But you have to believe in that. You have to implement everything that you learned today in this interview. So I commend you. I honor you. I respect you. I believe in you. I appreciate you for doing this for yourself, for watching this interview, for taking the time for you to dive into your own well that you're filling right now so that you can overflow into the world. So thank you, because this work matters. And thank you, brother, for being on here and being a vessel. I love you, man.
My God.